Well, welcome everybody to Weaving the Universal Design for Learning framework with spatially designed instruction. It's a beautiful tapestry of success for students with and without disabilities. It's a webinar by OCALI in collaboration with State Support Team Region 7, and I'm Ron Rogers with...
Hey Ron, Barb Gentili Green here. Thanks for inviting me. You know how I love specially designed instruction and UDL. So I just really appreciate the partnership that OCALI has with the state support teams. There are 16 state support teams around the state of Ohio, and we're working together to improve outcomes for all students. And Region 7 is housed in Mansfield, which is the north central part of Ohio. And here we are, a picture of us from last spring.
A picture of a man and woman next to each other in professional attire.
Teamwork.
Yeah. And just so the viewers know, I have lost weight. I'm a lot thinner than that picture. Just
look great.
Just throwing that out there for everybody to know. Okay, how to use the GoToMeeting box. There's really not much to it. Basically, you're going to follow the arrow, and if you need to raise your hand, you can do that. But I don't guarantee we're going to see your hand waving. I'm not sure we've ever gotten very good at that piece, but we'll try to monitor that. Yeah, I see. Somebody is using the hand already. Yep, thanks.
Testing us right
testing
off.
us out. Oh boy, there's always got to be one, Barb, in the audience. And then to interact with us, we're going to ask you to use the question box. So to interact with us, you'll type the questions in the question box, and nobody else will see the questions but us, but we will verbally talk about the questions and the answers, and that'll be kind of the way we communicate back and forth and make this fun for everybody. Oh yeah, let's, thanks Barb. She reminded me. Let's practice typing, for example. So if you would, please type into the question box if you're alone or how many people are sitting with you. And we'll read, Barb and I'll take turns. We'll try to read some of these questions.
It's always fun to see who's sitting by themselves and who's with the small group. Oh, I've got a few solo there, Ron. Solo, alone. Aaron, so alone. That's awesome, though. It's not just me. Okay.
Oh, I see. Now, I see now how you're reading those so quick, Barb. I'm sitting here tacking through them.
Down,
and you've already pretty much read it.
Great. 3 of them there at State Support Team 8.
Oh,
awesome.
Yes.
Thanks for joining.
Nice.
That's great to know.
So that one of them is probably Tracy. And then we have Linda from one of our state support teams. Okay. Oh, looky there. There's more. SST1. Hi, Nicole. By myself. Kelly. Solo. Kelly, you should have had more of your folks with you. There are 2 of us in Florida.
Ooh, love it. Great. That's awesome. Oh, Sydney, Australia.
Okay, let's go on to our next thing, which is Twitter. So if you're a Twitter fan, please feel free to use hashtag UDLPLN and at Region 7 SST, and then be sure to follow Barb and I. And you can see there that those are listed for you.
At BGENTILLEGREEN. At RONBROGERS.
So please have conversations in the background, and we will check our Twitter when this is over and try to jump in on your conversation.
Yep, love Twitter. And Ron, I love this picture that you had Ella paint for us. This beautiful picture to show that positive relationship between UDL and specially designed instruction. I always love her artwork. It's about time for her to make me a new poster, though.
A child's painting of 2 cats next to each other. One labeled UDL, one labeled SDI.
Yeah, and those are kind of like bow ties with the names and letters on them, I see too. So, well, with that said, you know what it's time for, Barb?
What's that?
It's time for a poll question. So everybody get ready for a poll question. Hopefully not everybody's driving at the moment and you can participate. So here comes the first question. Who is in the audience? And I'm going to go ahead and launch that poll. So please let us know who's in the audience. General education teachers or intervention specialists or special education staff or administrators, regional or state departments of education staff or parents. So kind of let us know who you are and what you're doing. And I'm going to share the results. It looks like, Barb, it looks like our high number is regional or state departments of education at 39%, parents at 0%, administrators 22%, intervention specialists 22%, and general education at 18%.
All right. I love having that
So-
representation from both. Wish we had some parents on here, but that's okay. They can listen to the webinar later that's recorded. So awesome.
Yeah, that
So-
is so cool.
Let's take a look now at the ICANN statements for today's webinar. So we have 3 of them. The first one is, I can explain how specially designed instruction is more than accommodations. The second one, I can explain the commonalities of specially designed instruction and universal design for learning. And the third one is, I can explain the importance of the planning process, incorporating universal design for learning and specially designed instruction. So that's what Ron and I hope to accomplish with you today.
Okay, thanks, Barb. So let's think about universal design for learning, and let's kind of start that out with a definition. And just to remind people, and we've seen that even with the poll, that 15% did not respond. That's because 15% are probably driving home in their car and listening to the webinar and not really looking at the slides. So Barb and I always try to describe what's going on the slides for people that are driving. So universal design for learning, or UDL as it's known, is a framework to improve and optimize teaching and learning for all people based on scientific insights into how humans learn. And we have a visual there of the brains and of engagement, action and expression and representation. And you're free to look at that if you're not driving and see what all's there. The next slide talks more about the goal of what universal design for learning is. And the big goal here is the expert learners. I don't think anybody can say anything about not wanting expert learners by their students. And we think about the purposeful and motivated learner, and that strategic and goal-directed learner, and the resourceful and knowledgeable learner. So hopefully if you did not have any background on UDL, hopefully that helps give you a little bit of background on universal design for learning. So with that said, UDL it's powerful for all students. Although a question that I ask myself sometimes is does UDL take care of my students needing special education services? And then I wonder to myself, what about when the IEP says spatially designed instruction, or SDI? So fill me in a little about spatially designed instruction, if you would, Barb.
Absolutely. So specially designed instruction is that legal term from the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. That's the federal law that outlines the requirements for providing services for students who become eligible for special education. So when a team is making that determination for a student's eligibility under one of the disability categories, one of the requirements is that that student needs specially designed instruction. And so we're going to break that down a little bit and explain some of the key points. So a few key points. One is that the goal for the student who is eligible for special education is to be able to access the curriculum and meet the educational standards. So not just to be able to access it, but also to meet those standards for his or her grade level. And in order to do that, that specially designed instruction, or SDI, is required. And SDI has to be lined up with that child's unique needs. It has to meet that student's unique needs. And we're going to break this down a little bit, but SDI can be accomplished by adapting 3 things: either adapting the content, adapting the methodology, or adapting the delivery of instruction. And by the way, we have a resource in the resource document that gives you that exact definition from IDEA of SDI. So take a look at that. So let's break it down a little bit.
Okay, so I heard you say, Barb, that the verb in that definition was adapting, making changes matched to students' need or condition. What were those 3 things we said we could adapt again, Barb?
Okay, so the first thing we could adapt is content. So that is the knowledge and skills that make up that curriculum that's to be mastered. And so there could be times when the expectations of what a student will learn or be able to do is changed. So one example of this might be for a student with significant cognitive disabilities and complex needs. where the curriculum is modified using the extended learning standards. In Ohio, they're called Ohio's Learning Standards Extended. So that's where there's a change in either the breadth or the depth of the material that's taught at the student's grade level. So that's an example of adapting content.
So stay with me here, Barb, because, I'm just trying to make sure I'm clear. So something else we can adapt is methodology. Can you?
Yeah. Can you explain that? What methodology is to me, Ron?
Okay. So to me, methodology is what the teacher does, maybe the tools and the strategies he or she uses to facilitate that student learning. These strategies must be evidence-based, discussing a specific reading intervention or program to do that, or go ahead. I'm kind of unclear.
So that's one example. A methodology, sometimes people think of a specific reading intervention program. Another example of methodology is when we would break down a learning task with a step-by-step analysis and provide that really clear, explicit instruction and reinforce a student's success or reteach or correct any mistakes that the student makes. So those are two examples of adapting methodology. Okay. And then the third thing that we can adapt is the delivery of instruction.
Delivery of instruction. Teaching that results in access to, participation in, and progress in the curriculum for students with disabilities.
So how you provide that explicit instruction, again, remember it's got to be matched to the student's unique needs. So some examples of this might be providing instruction in a one-on-one setting or a small group, or perhaps even co-serving, co-teaching in a general education classroom.
Well, I'm learning quite a bit from you today, Barb. And this, sometimes I didn't really think about this a lot. And now with the things that you're saying, this is starting to sink in a little bit. Let's see how it's sinking in for others. So we've got another poll question now. So please, everybody, ready yourself for the next poll question. So the next poll question is going to say this. When thinking about the past 18 minutes, which words come to mind about your learning so far? Engaged and excited to learn more? Already thinking about how to use this in my classroom? Lost? Probably going to bail on us? Still not sure why I'm in this webinar. Okay, here we go. Oh boy, Barb, keep your fingers crossed.
Making me nervous. Don't want to see too many of those last two. A lot of content to go over in a short amount of time. So we hope that we're able to get some key points across. And
please remember to hit submit at the bottom once you choose your the one that you wanted to choose.
Do we have anybody bailing yet, Ron? Not sure. No, nobody's bailing yet. All right.
No, nobody's bailing, but we got 2% that's still not sure why they're in this webinar.
Well, we've got some time.
Man. Okay, we're at 82% voted, so I'm going to go ahead with the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're going to close the poll. And we're going to share those results and see just exactly what everybody said. Okay, our highest at 61% was engaged and excited to learn more. Yeehaw.
All right.
And at 36%, already thinking about how to use this in my classroom. And lost and probably going to bail at 0%. And 4% at still not sure why I'm in the webinar.
Uh-oh, hope somebody didn't make them sign up for it, Ron. Well, let's keep going.
Yeah, maybe we can pull them up.
We can get
higher.
it.
We'll get them. We'll get them.
That's right.
So I'm going to hide the results, and we're going to go to the next slide.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about why we need both. Okay, so Universal Design for Learning is for all students, all learners, and it provides that accessible route to learning. So Universal Design is for all.
Did you say all learners, Barb?
I did, absolutely, every single learner. And then specially designed instruction is for those students on IEPs that have those unique needs that need to be met. So that's why we need both.
The goal of both Universal Design for Learning and Spatially Designed Instruction is for learners to become independent, empowered, and successful. Let me say that again. Independent, empowered, and successful. That's what we want our students to be. Mm-hmm. So as we look at the pictures here on this slide, the scaffolding is used in both Universal Design for Learning and SDI. And when we think about a scaffold, like in the first picture, a lot of times we think about support that is put in place or something that is being built or improved. But as the building or the improvement is completed, the scaffolding is removed. So it'd be best for us to think of the scaffolding for learning in the same way. In the example of a student with a disability, that scaffolding can be used while, I'll say that again, while spatially designed instruction is being provided to build a learner's skills and independence. Then it can be removed as the student becomes independent with skill or a strategy. Does that sound correct, Barb?
Yeah, that's absolutely it. And unfortunately, though, Ron, sometimes students with disabilities have been over accommodated. So teams have provided that scaffolding without providing the specially designed instruction, which is really intended to build that independence. So when that happens, the scaffold, unfortunately, becomes a permanent fixture, much like the fire escape in the picture on the right. It's like permanent, it's there. So a question that a team might want to ask themselves is, are we providing the just right amount of scaffolding? And also as important, are we gradually releasing responsibility to the student so that he or she doesn't become dependent on that accommodation that was intended to be temporary? That scaffold was intended to be temporary.
Barb, aren't some of those accommodations always needed for some students?
Okay, good point, Ron. I'm glad you asked that. Yes, for some students with disabilities, depending on their unique needs, they may need that accommodation forever. So let's think about a text reader on a computer. So a student with a visual impairment may always need that because her visual impairment is permanent. However, a student who has a learning disability in reading may need the text reader while she is building her reading skills. Then once her reading skills become proficient, that text reader may no longer be needed. That scaffold has been removed.
Barb, one of those things that is like a planning conversation, and I'm glad you're up for this. Let's have a planning conversation, and let's maybe look at two scenarios, and let's ask everyone that's out there listening to bear with us, because this will take about 3 minutes. So let's first look at like one of Ohio's learning standards, and we'll look at analyze literary text development, which says determine a theme of a story, drama, or a poem from details in the text, including how characters in a story or a drama respond to challenges, or how the speaker in a poem reflects upon a topic. Summarize the text, incorporating a theme determined from details in the text. Okay, so that's what the learning standard says. Now we take that and we turn it into a learning activity for 5th grade. So our expectation would be students will summarize the plot of the book, The Little Prince, and then reflect on the challenges facing the characters in the story, using details in the text to discuss the value of curiosity and exploration as a theme.
All right.
So.
All right, we're ready to start this co-planning discussion, Ron?
Yeah, I think we are.
All right. So let's finish planning for next week's lesson on the writing assignment that finishes our unit on The Little Prince. So what were you thinking about how students will work towards the final writing, Ron?
Oh, it's such a great book, Barb. I'm kind of looking forward to how students reflect maybe on the challenges, the characters faced and the connections that they see to be, curious and being willing to explore. I hope that they can make some great personal connections too. My plan was to have students maybe work in small groups and then rotate between stations that have different question prompts that will help them maybe review the book and share their perspectives with one another. What do you think about that?
I love it. Love the small group. It's a really great way to get them ready for that writing assignment. I can tell you've used that UDL framework, especially engagement and action and expression, to design that activity. So I'd like to talk about the students in the class who are on IEPs, if we could, for a minute. So this activity you've already decided on will really provide the specially designed instruction that John requires to meet his unique needs, which is the opportunity to review the books and talk about the key points of the book prior to beginning the writing assignment. So that your UDL framework really provided that SDI that he needed.
Oh man, Barb, I'm so glad you're thinking about students on their IEP goals, because you think there's anything else that John might need?
Yeah, actually, he would. He would benefit from some guiding questions in order to think through the key points of the book. And he'll also need a graphic organizer to capture his thoughts. So, what do you think about providing 2 options for the graphic organizer, but provide those options to all the students so that they can capture their ideas?
Man, Barb, that sounds great. How will we know if these things are working for John, though?
Good point. We've got to know when our SDI is working. So I'll observe and I'll talk with John and I'll help him keep track of how well he did with the activity and with the resource like the graphic organizer. And I'll also be able to use this for the progress monitoring that I need to do for his IEP. So I think it would be helpful if you and I could review the questions together so that we're sure that they will lead to a powerful discussion and provide that right verbal exchange that really helps John.
Sounds great. Yes, it's important that we are using the right questions. I am so glad that John's spatially designed instruction can be provided right here in the general education classroom with his peers. Mm-hmm. The cool part of all this is how the activity engages all the students, and it's kind of like a natural flow. Just makes sense, doesn't it, Barb?
Absolutely. I love it. So let's talk about Beth for a minute. So the stations will definitely help her. Like you said, there are many students who would benefit from that. But the specially designed instruction on her IEP is learning to use a speech-to-text app to complete the writing assignments.
Wow, I'm not sure how to incorporate that into a lesson, Barb. You're going to have to help me out here.
Well, we have some options, Ron. I'm willing to help. So Beth is still learning how to use the speech-to-text app. She's not proficient yet. So one way we could address this is to use the co-teaching model of alternative teaching.
What would that look and sound like, Barb?
Well, I could take a small group of students who are learning to use the app while you take a larger group to review the use of the graphic organizer. So I could, explicitly teach my group the steps in using the app and then have them practice on a shorter writing assignment.
So when would be a good time to do this?
Well, we could do it on Monday, which is right before we start the station rotation on Tuesday. And I could also teach you how the app works, Ron, so that either one of us can help Beth or the others if they get stuck while they're using the app on the writing assignment.
Well, I'd be more than willing to help if they need it. As long as you teach me how to use that app. You think Beth will need to do a writing assignment, though, in a separate location since, she is just now learning it?
Oh, I'm glad you were honest enough to ask that question, Ron. No, I really think with that explicit instruction and that guided practice prior to the assignment, that she'll be able to work on her writing assignment for the Little Prince in the classroom when everyone else is working on theirs. So she may need a little bit more time, but we can decide when to provide that if she ends up needing it.
Another great integration of spatially designed instruction and universal design for learning in the classroom. Thanks so much, Barb, for taking the time to meet.
Absolutely, Ron. It's so important to co-plan lessons. So hopefully we provided a couple examples within that planning conversation where we adapted the methodology and also the delivery of instruction, 2 options in specially designed instruction.
Because we're very transparent, Barb, I'll just share with you that there was one person that said that, it would have been nice if there had been visuals to accompany this discussion because they're not an auditory learner. They're more of,
Oh, good point. Hey,
yeah, that's a good point.
We missed the mark on that one. Thank you for that feedback.
Yes,
absolutely.
We did. So the next question allows for some, some back and forth thoughts here.
So the first one is my biggest learning today was, and then, or my next steps will be. So just type your thoughts in those question box. We'll just take a couple minutes because we are coming down to the last couple minutes here, Ron.
Okay, excellent job. Great summary of the material that will be useful to carry forward. My next step will be using the handouts and continuing to spread the learning about all of this.
Good. Love that. That's what we need.
Biggest learning was the definition of SDI. The next thing is to review the handouts, the co-planning demo. Thank you for modeling a collaborative planning session with the intervention specialist included in the planning for all. We'll share this webinar with teams I work with.
Great.
how to adapt instruction when you have a mixture of general and special education classrooms, to share the resources, continue co-planning and co-teaching, using student accommodations, SDI as a springboard. Now, these are all great.
They are.
The co-planning demo to learn more. The biggest learning today was co-planning is very important. Next steps will be continuing to co-plan on a weekly basis. Do you want to hit a few of them, Barb?
Awesome. Like the handout comparing SDI accommodations and modifications. Review the webinar again. Yeah, Ron, I'm so glad you're recording these. It does provide access to folks in the evenings. Learning how much difference there is between K-12 and higher ed. Yeah, and nice planning conversation. So I want to leave you with a visual here to wrap up our webinar. So I want to give Susan Seelig a SST 10, right?
A shout out.
Yeah,
yes,
shout out.
Absolutely.
So we
Go
were
Susan.
in a UDL collaborative meeting, and we were trying to think of a visual that kind of brought some of these thoughts together, and we ended up with a chocolate covered cherry. So if you think about a chocolate covered cherry, it has that ooey gooey filling that just sort of wraps around everything, and that's UDL. Okay, and the cherry is the specially designed instruction for those students that are eligible for special education, and the chocolate coating is the co-planning that teachers use to pull the instruction together for all learners. So I hope you're hungry now.
So with that said, for those of you that love Universal Design for Learning and want to continue the chat, please feel free to join one of the best chats on Twitter, hashtag UDL Chat, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, every first and third Wednesday, and representatives from CAST and all over the country are there. Pattons, UDL IRN, the SSTs from Ohio, OCALI. It's a lot of fun and a lot of knowledge.
Great chat.
And then also, if you're around Ohio, November 14th through the 16th is OCALICon. Again, in Columbus, Ohio. Feel free to register because we'd love to have you there.
And another opportunity we have for you in Ohio is the Assistive Technology Conference and Vendor Fair. This travels around the state. It's the first week of October, the 2nd through 5th, and different parts of the state there, Rootstown, Lima, did you say Chauncey? Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
And Dayton. So again, this is free. Registration is there. OhioATVendorFair.org, and we have all kinds of vendors that are there, and then session breakouts really explaining assistive technology, how it can support learners. So, shoo, Ron, that was a fast 30 minutes, and my first webinar ever. So growth mindset, I made it. Okay. I'm feeling all right. High five.
All right, we made it. Yes,
we did it.
One of Barb's goals was to do a webinar sometime, and she's now done it. I think she's loved enough. I bet she does another one. So with that said, I'd like to thank everybody that's out there for joining us, because we know your time is so important to you and to us. So we really hope that you've enjoyed this so much. And
thank you so much for being there. It's a lot of great participation. So.
Wow. Okay.
Right. Ooh, we left
right
on time.
Right on time. So everybody have a great evening, and please enjoy your families.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Barb Gentile Green, State Support Team, Region 7, at Region 7 SST. Ron Rogers, OCALI, at Ron B. Rogers.